Previously on God of War. With our business with Brock the blacksmith concluded, we delve into a small cavernous hollow laden with spiky traps and even more Draugr. A neat little mechanic that I'm glad still persists from prior installments is that enemies are also vulnerable to traps, meaning we can make quick work of the enemies by virtue of the classic splatter ceiling. Yeah? After some light puzzling, we get to tear open a Nornir chest to find a horn of bloodmead, an item that works similarly to the apples in that collecting 3 of them will increase our maximum Spartan rage. Not long after exiting the cavern, our path is blocked by our first rune gate, a massive door that requires solving a riddle in order to pass. In this case, we have to simply pull a lever that causes these circular segments on the door to start rotating, and with a few freezing axe tosses, we can line up the segments to form the solution. And there we go.
I see runes.
Boy, what do those runes say?
Oh, it says family.
Family, 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 family.
Stepping through the large door, we enter another short cavern section. A bit further in, we notice sunlight seeping in from an opening on our right. But hidden in the sunlight is another variety of collectible, one of Odin's ravens. There are 51 throughout the game, and you better believe I'm not covering all of them. Only the ones that stood out as challenging or troublesome to nail with the axe. Would have been better if I actually hit that one. There we go. Once outside again, we come across yet another disgruntled inhabitant. The fire troll, Brenna Dirty, which roughly means burning death, is here to give us something of a toasty reception. Unsurprisingly, the troll itself is remarkably similar to the first one we fought, although he does have the ability to lob a large volley of molten slag. The greater challenge here is that we aren't allowed to face the troll on its own, as poison-flinging seer shadows join the fray. Due to my inexperience with the game still, I do resort to using a bit of axe tossing to deal with the ranged enemies and whittling down the troll's health. After a few tries, the troll is laid to rest beneath his own totem. Boom! And down he goes. As a reward for killing the troll, we receive Ivaldi's Anvil, a heavy runic attack that deals frost damage in an area around Kratos that also applies a slow and stun to affected enemies. This ends up becoming a staple for me, as while Kratos performs runic attacks, he is still vulnerable to damage, meaning runic attacks with low wind-up time tends to be the safer option for this difficulty. In addition to equipping the runic attack, I also go over my skills, which are moves or passive upgrades you acquire in a similar fashion to previous installments in the series, the exception here being that you use XP instead of red orbs. Unlike previous entries in this series, however, this installment makes use of statistics, like the ones you'd see in an RPG. Some of them are fairly straightforward. Strength increases the damage of all standard attacks, essentially everything Kratos does except for runic attacks. Defense reduces your damage taken. Vitality increases your health pool, and also makes you more resistant to staggering effects. Then there's a few stats that may seem a little less familiar. Runic increases the damage of runic attacks, as well as elemental damage. Basically works like a sort of spell power. Luck increases the activation chance of perks found on some equipment. In addition, it also increases experience and Hacksilver gains. Hacksilver being the game's main currency. And then cooldown, which reduces the cooldown time of your runic attacks and your runic summons. Now all this stat breakdown makes a man hungry, So we do yet another Nornir chest puzzle and get ourselves a Ethan apple. As this is our third, we receive a permanent increase to our maximum health. Then, up on a cliff next to the chest, we find a lore marker in the form of a runestone. This is yet another collectible that adds a bit of lore and world building, similarly to the murals but to a lesser extent. While the apple was no doubt delicious, Kratos is hungry for something a little more substantial. So when they happen upon a wild boar, Atreus gets to prove his proclivity for bowmanship, and...
But I hit it, didn't I? I did what you said and it looked like it bounced off. Could the boar be magical?
What do you think?
It looked weirder than any boar I've ever seen.
Get after it then.
Following the boar's tracks through a raised encampment, we come upon the strangely resilient beast yet again. Or not.
Yes!
Do not lose it.
Atreus eagerly rushes ahead after the boar, but in his recklessness, he drops his mother's knife, a mistake that greatly vexes his father.
That's a 50 DKP minus!
Kratos tries catching up to his son, but a dense mist has turned the rocky surroundings into a maze-like environment. We can call out to our boy, but much like in heavy rain, it's not really gonna help in any way.
Jason! 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 Jason!
The boy was following my command.
Then help fix this. Hold here, please. Hold, I said. He's losing blood. The last of his kind in all the realm, and you shoot him. You needed food?
Target practice.
Target practice.
I'm so sorry.
Keep that pressure on. The blame is mine. I should have kept a closer eye.
Will he die?
I will not let him. So now...
You're a witch.
I can't finish the healing here. My home is just beyond the trees there. You will carry him.
The Witch of the Woods is willing to forgive us for our little misdemeanor if we help save her friend's life. So we carry the boar back to a hut, which naturally is attached to the belly of a giant turtle. Come to think of it, since it has a tree on its back, it does remind me of something, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Once inside, the witch sends Atreus out into a garden to pick up an herb she needs for mending the boar's wounds. As the adults are left alone, she divulges she can tell that Kratos is a god and questions if the boy knows his true nature. While Kratos grows frustrated by her prying, he doesn't refute her claim that the Norse pantheon doesn't take kindly to outsiders. The stranger who came knocking on his front door certainly made that clear. The witch, however, relents that this is none of her business and asks Kratos to procure some lamb's cress, more commonly known as hairy bittercress, from her garden.
Fine. Lamb's cress.
After the lamb's cress has been acquired, we waltz on over to Atreus, who's struggling to pull up a root of sorts.
Would this help?
I dropped it?
When you were chasing the animal.
What's wrong with me? If I lost it, then...
You did lose it.
I'll take better care of it from now on.
While Kratos could have been more empathetic in his approach, it is a paramount lesson for a parent to impart on their child, to be mindful of your belongings or risk losing them forever.
So he's gonna live?
Yes.
With the boar saved, Kratos intends for them to resume their journey post-haste, but the witch insists on giving them a parting gift, a token of gratitude for helping her save the boar's life. While Kratos is suspicious at first, the witch explains she is merely placing a rune on each of them that will keep them hidden from the eyes of Asgard, which he finds acceptable.
Luna.
We exit the witch's hut through the back door and enter a torchlit cave where we come across a new enemy, nightmares. While these small evasive flyers can dish out some serious damage if left to their own devices, they are also very brittle and are easily routed. While there is a great deal of resources and collectibles located in this cave, we simply lack the appropriate tools to acquire most of them. Thus we hop into the boat and start rowing our way out of the cave. As we exit the cavern and enter the Lake of Nine, we come across a massive statue of Thor that's nearly submerged in water, which sparks a conversation about the Aesir gods. Kratos asks if there's a god that cannot feel pain, and Atreus replies that it sounds like Balder, confirming the suspicions that it was indeed a member of the Aesir pantheon that Kratos had fought earlier. In the middle of the lake, there is yet another statue. On its chest, there's a message written in runes that reads, "Sacrifice your arms to the center of the water, awaken again the cradle of the world." After a short deliberation, Kratos agrees to toss his Leviathan axe into the water. After all, he can just recall it afterward.
The axe did not return.
Alright, here's what actually happens. Oh dear, oh, rip my performance.
What is this?
Hi there. It's the #1 Snake Boy.
Stay calm, boy!
Yeah! This is great!
Speaks?
Yeah! Mom said he's friendly!
What does it say?
I don't know! That was amazing!
After making acquaintances with the world's serpent, Jormungandr, the world itself has started to open up for us, and it's going to continue opening up as we progress through the story. First off, I decide to make landfall on a beach tucked away in a small bay. After reading the inscription on a brazier, we are greeted by not just one, but two new enemy types. The first is the Tatzelworm, a burrowing lizard cat of sorts that likes to pounce out of the very soil. Their evasive nature can make them slightly frustrating to deal with, but on the upside they are quite susceptible to staggers and juggling. The second is the Seder Viken, a corrupted, hulking former human armed with a two-handed mace. They move rather slowly, but show an almost relentless aggression when they are within swinging distance. In addition, they can empower their weapons to apply status effects, and even worse, they can stop in place to start rapidly regenerating their health. I come to the conclusion that the best approach is to deal with the Tatzelworms first, due to their relatively low defense and lack of a healing ability, and after a couple of tries, they are all laid low. Before I return to my travels, I talk to a ghost that has appeared next to the brazier for a side objective, whereby I am tasked with helping his comrades as restless souls find peace as I have helped him, which boils down to just smacking about a couple of dingbats at a few more braziers. As we continue exploring, we come across Brock yet again, and he has a little errand for us. We are to find his fellow dwarf, Andvari, who was last seen in the Volander mines. After some quick shopping, we begin our plunge into the dark tunnels. Shortly into the depths, we come across a monstrous creature of stone. But we are not going to fight it just yet. First, we have a new mechanic to deal with. Nightmares, the small flying enemies we fought earlier, have the ability to attach themselves to certain creatures, empowering them and granting rapid health regeneration. To balance this, staggering effects are greatly increased against them, and once the stagger bar reaches its peak, the nightmare will be immediately ejected from its host. We cut our way through some more scum of the earth, and eventually arrive at the enemy we saw leaving earlier. A soul eater. In spite of its lumbering physique, these golems prefer a ranged approach to combat, and as they start firing projectiles, its weak spot is exposed. Throwing your axe at this soft spot not only deals a bit of damage and raises its stagger bar significantly, it also knocks a shard loose from the elemental. The shard can be picked up and thrown at the soul eater, damaging it and massively raising the stagger bar. One has to be careful though, as the shards will explode on their own after a certain amount of time has passed. The soul eater by itself isn't too much of a challenge, but the addition of Draugrs to join the fray midway through throws me off balance for a bit. We suffer a few setbacks, but soon enough, the infernal construct falls silent. From its corpse, we retrieve a severed hand that had been lodged in his rocky carapace. On one of its fingers is a green ring engraved with dwarven runes. As there is seemingly no Andvari to be found, we pick up all the other loot and head back to Brock.
What'd you find?
You're an alchemist.
The hand is all we could find, still wearing the ring. There was a soul eater inside, and well, it must have burned away the rest of him.
Suppose you'll still be wanting some compensation, huh?
Naturally.
Will be nice.
Naturally, he says. Miani Feruxi.
Brock gives us a pretty decent axe pommel for our troubles that gives us a very low chance of activating a damage-absorbing shield on successful hits. If memory serves, this ability does save my life on several occasions. He also says he's going to inspect the ring more closely, which will become important later on. As we continue to explore the Lake of Nine, we come across yet another ghost. He explains that when his father passed away, his mother constructed a statue of Thor to watch over his resting place. When the god of thunder suddenly arrives, they are honored by his presence, but the arrogant oaf starts taking advantage of their hospitality. When the grieving widow asks the god to leave, he kills her in a fit of drunken rage. As such, the ghost asks us to destroy the statue of Thor, and in exchange, he allows us to take whatever valuables his father was buried with. We're gonna put a pin in this, and instead return to the main questline for a bit. Since waking the world serpent lowered the water level of the lake, it also revealed a large structure known as Tyr's Temple. Brock, as usual, has already set up shop inside the temple, and he has a new tool for us, a Key of Yggdrasil. This item will allow us to use waygates spread across the realms to quickly travel back to Tyr's Temple.
Look, gang, a door!
After some quick shopping, we continue our treacherous journey towards the peak. As soon as we leave the Lake of Nine, we come across another dwarven blacksmith, Sindri. Sindri tells us that he was partially responsible for forging the Leviathan axe, and wants to know why Kratos has it, as it was meant as a gift for Faye.
It was my mother's. She left its father before she died.
Faye's dead? I'm very, very sorry to hear that. She was a fierce warrior. And a good woman. Okay. I we'll make improvements to the axe.
But nobody asked you to.
Well, it's true, but knowing your mother, she would have insisted I repair that act of vandalism perpetrated against her axe by my brother.
I knew it.
It would seem we found Brock's estranged brother. And while Kratos is as suspicious of strangers as always, he allows the dwarf to make improvements on the axe, so long as he doesn't undo his brother's work. I should probably also mention, every time the dwarves improve the axe during a cinematic, we receive the key item Mark of the Dwarves. Obtaining this item gives Kratos a permanent runic stat boost of 1, and there are a number of these marks and similar items throughout the game that we'll be collecting. When perusing Sindri's wares, we also get introduced to a powerful new item, Resurrection Stones. As the name implies, these can be used whenever Kratos takes lethal damage to instantly revive him and continue fighting. We only have access to the basic one for now, which revives him with a small portion of health, but later we can purchase ones that restore all of his health, or instantly fills his Spartan Rage bar. Another neat detail is that if you do use one and still die during the same encounter, the stone is not consumed. As such, there is no real fear of wasting them. After navigating through a foul forest and a bit of climbing, we arrive at the gate of the mountain. At first, it seems rather lightly guarded. Just some sickly wolves and a satyr reaver. Reavers behave similarly to Hellwalkers, but while they don't possess resistance to frostly powers, they can stand in place to quickly regenerate health, just like the Vikings. What's more is that once their HP has been depleted, they begin to glow intensely before the unstable magic within them causes them to violently explode. With these quickly disposed of, let's get the rubble out of the way.
Special delivery! Come here, I'm gonna eat you! I'm bigger than you, I'm higher in the food chain! Get in my belly! Ah! You're lucky, wee man! Ah!
Time for a new, big, ugly enemy, the Ogre. Of course, we're not just facing the Ogre, but a whole gaggle of Satyr Reavers as well. Seems rather unfair, right? Well, this is actually to teach you an important mechanic. Certain enemies, mostly really large ones, have attacks with friendly fire. As such, the rampaging Ogre will help us deal with the Reaver threat by beating them to a pulp as he attempts to hit Kratos or Atreus. Once an Ogre reaches 25% HP, he will instantly be staggered and open up for an execution move. But rather than instantly killing the Ogre, we forcefully climb onto its shoulders. Then we can hit him with light and heavy attacks to instigate him to smash everything in our way. All while Kratos is fully immune to all damage. Once the Ogre's out of health, he has to take a nap after having such a jaw-dropping experience. As is tradition by this point, we are met with yet another spanner in the cogs. A dense black mist engulfs the only path to the mountain. Atreus remarks that the witch might know what to do. And right on cue, we are hit with some witch ex machina. The witch explains that the only way to cross what she refers to as the Black Breath is to retrieve the light of Alfheim, which means we are going on a trip to the realm of elves. In order to travel to Alfheim, we need to get back to Tyr's temple. On the way back, we also make a quick detour to finish a Nornir chess puzzle. Once back at the temple, we now have to realign the temple, literally speaking, as we have to physically rotate the entire temple. Before we step into the temple's central chamber, the witch gives Atreus a special bowstring, capable of being infused with magical properties. She also explains that she will try to accompany us to Alfheim, but the curses placed on her by the gods may prevent her. Kratos also receives a gift, the Bifrost, a key necessary for traveling between the realms. However, Both items need to be recharged by the light of Alfheim in order to function.
What now?
Give it a moment. The temple needs time to wake up from its long slumber. It is from this room, and this room alone, that you will be able to cross between realms. What you see before you represents the temple in which we stand, as well as the realm towers that encircle the Lake of Nine outside. All the realms exist in the same physical space, reflections of each other. These doors, the towers outside, and the 9 realms are all intertwined and coexisting on the branches of the World Tree, separated only by the Bifrost light of Alfheim. The bridge you pushed outside is currently positioned to lead to the realm of Vanaheim. Instead, turn the wheel to our actual destination, Alfheim.
Wait, is this moving the big bridge outside?
Yes, the wheel turns the bridge, and the bridge aligns to the different realm towers on the lake outside.
Wait, there's no tower on this one.
And that's why realm travel to Jotunheim is impossible. Without a tower for the bridge to lock into, the sequence can't begin. Every realm has a travel room that unlocks the bridge to that realm. I'm giving you the one for Alfheim. Now you can lock in your destination. See that giant crystal? Each realm has a corresponding one that focuses and amplifies the power of the Bifrost, opening the bridge to that realm. That's why realm travel is only possible from this room.
What about that one realm tower beside the lake?
The Jotunheim Tower disappeared when the giants vanished from Midgard. Went and how they moved it remain a mystery.
After the temple has worked its magic, we set foot in the beautiful landscape of Alfheim. The witch, however, quickly notices that something's off. The light of Alfheim seen in the distance has grown dim and weak. But before she can explain much more, the aforementioned curse starts forcibly pulling her back to Midgard.
To restore the Bifrost magic, you must step into the light, but be very careful not to get caught.
With the witch ejected back to Midgard and the Bifrost depleted, we have nowhere to go but forward. It doesn't take us long to find out why the light seems so diminished, as the Dark Elves are leading an offensive against the Light Elves. Unfortunately, the Dark Elves don't take too kindly to outsiders either.
We don't take kindly to your types in here. Now, calm down, Skeeter. They ain't hurting nobody.
So Kratos will have to do a bit of fly swat.
I'm not ready.
Shortly after the elves have been disposed of, we come across Sindri again. Kratos is understandably confounded as to how the dwarf could travel there and even arrive before them, since the witch very clearly stated that the temple was the only way to travel between the realms. To which he responds,
Well, it may be the only way for you to travel, but we dwarves are full of surprises. Oh, all right. It's magic. Are you happy now?
after the shopping and the upgrading is done, we continue our journey by boat. Right off the bat, we come across an important collectible, a Dew of Yggdrasil. These items work similarly to the Mark of the Dwarves in that they each provide a permanent stat boost. Then we travel along until we come upon a little cove, where we find some stray enemies, another Eden apple, and a realm tear. Realm tears are special encounters and do count as collectibles, but I've elected to hold off on completing them as the encounters are extremely tough with my limited toolkit. Ah no. We soon come upon yet more Dark Elves, and now they're actually starting to get challenging. Their fast movement, ability to apply a blinding effect to Kratos with their ranged attacks, and a tendency to attack in larger groups makes them for a bit of a hassle to deal with. Axe throwing continues to come in clutch whenever Kratos' health pool runs dry and I don't want to risk losing the fight. Dude, catch. There we go. We journey into a sort of jail, where we unsurprisingly find more dark elves and puzzles, but also a mini-boss, a Stone Ancient. The Stone Ancient behaves very similarly to the Soul Eater, except instead of launching a barrage of projectiles from its chest, it fires a channel beam, almost like it's doing a Fulgor impression. The beam can be troublesome, however, fortunately for us, there is a large bundle of rocks in the middle of the arena that we can not only use to avoid the beam, but allow us to throw our axe straight into the Ancient's weak spot without having to risk our lives in the process. Of course, it still doesn't stop me from taking a few stupid deaths. Oh, come on!
You suck!
But soon enough, the laser golem crumbles. Oh, I got him. Get out! Kratos jacks the lumber out of the plant. Creature? Which reconstitutes the light bridge above us, allowing us to progress further into Alfheim. A quick elevator ride, and we can peacefully stroll across the newly reformed bridge. Then we take a quick detour to the left to lay our hands on another Nornir chest. This one actually proves rather troublesome for me, since aiming with an analog stick is awful, and thusly I opt for using the mouse instead. In the chest we find a Horn of Bloodmead, which happens to also be the third of its kind, so we get a slight increase to our maximum Spartan rage. Most of the encounters so far have been tough, but not too demoralizing. But as we climb onto a large plateau, a pack of dark elves swoop in. Though it starts out as merely 4 of them, one of them is capable of summoning additional reinforcements. Obviously, the summoner needs to die first, but killing an invasive enemy while 3 to 4 other enemies are constantly hounding you is a whole other kettle of fish. Okay, let's make a break for it. That was not a hellstone. Oh.
This is the last one. I'm ready.
Where did I go then? There we go.
The light is near. Look for a way inside.
With the enemies done and dusted, we gave the old freezing chop to the plan core thingy, I guess? Then we make our way upwards into the hive the Dark Elves have constructed around the light of Alfheim. We sneak inside, where we run into a lost Dark Elf in desperate need of direction. Luckily, Kratos is happy to provide some, shall we say, groundbreaking advice. Don't fall and die now. After falling further into the hive and Atreus almost blowing our cover, we are but a stone's throw away from the light of Alfheim. We freeze and chop the wood whatchamacallit, but in doing so, the hive begins to crumble, and the commotion rouses the swarm of sleeping dark elves, and the relatively short walk to the final core thing has turned into a gauntlet. While these dark elves are fairly weak, they make up for it in space with their numbers. In addition, the bridges are fairly slim, meaning it's almost impossible to try and run past them. The only solution to this bug problem is to cut our way through.
The only good bug is a dead bug.
Screw it.
That's the last one! Hurry!
With the last red rock... okay, listen. I have no idea what they're called. I looked. I scoured the wiki and I couldn't find a name of the weak points or even the plant itself. But this is the last one in the game, so we're just gonna move along. We destroy it, the ground gives way, and we fall right down onto the platform surrounding the light. Before Kratos enters the light, he hands over the Leviathan axe to Atreus. Once within the light, Kratos is, surprisingly enough, engulfed by darkness. He treads through areas pertaining to his past, and even his future. All while an echo of his son's thoughts are heard.
You know I love him. I just wish he was better. I know he can be. So if he tries, I'll try.
Deeper in the white void, he sees his lost love. But as he approaches her,
Faye. Wait! Come back! No! No! What have you done? Why did you do that?
I saved you! You were trapped in there! I waited and I waited, but you wouldn't come out! So I pulled you out!
Boy! I was gone only... moments.
No! You've been gone a long time! I didn't know what to do! You left me here! Again! Why don't you care?
That's impossible.
We should go before they come back. I hope you got what you needed.
now that the Bifrost is charged with the light of Alfheim, we can use it to activate Tyr's temple to travel back to Midgard, as well as use it to disperse the Black Breath on the way up the mountain. First off though, we're going to get Atreus a nice upgrade to his bow. With the light-charged bowstring, he can now fire light arrows, allowing us to not only charge light crystals to open up new passages, but build stagger much faster on enemies, and will start applying the light status effect, a debuff that reduces their damage dealt and increases damage taken. Shortly thereafter, we also pick up the light runic attack, Strike of Utgard. This one becomes a fast favorite of mine due to the long effective range, decent damage, and short cooldown. We bust open the main gate, letting the light elves back into the temple. Then on the way back, we naturally come across a new obstacle. The boat isn't docked here, and we are forced to take the route beneath the lake through the underground prison. As we enter the subsurface structure, the ceiling splitting the lake open starts closing, rendering the area cloaked in utter darkness. Whilst fumbling around in the dark for resources and collectibles, we get ourselves a third Eden apple, raising our maximum HP, something that's gonna come in handy quite soon. We're probably gonna get attacked now when he starts to... Yeah, I thought so. It would seem our interloping has drawn the ire of the Dark Elf King himself, Svartalfjord, whose name fittingly means Dark Elf Chieftain. This fight is a noticeable bump up in difficulty. The Dark Elf King is immensely aggressive, barely letting up the pressure for more than a second or two. He primarily strikes with his melee weapon, but will on occasion launch exploding light charges onto the ground around you. Speaking of these light charges, sometimes he will simply drop one of these bombs on the ground at the end of certain moves, meaning you have to stay on your toes and quickly evade so as to not get caught in the explosion. And while he doesn't have a ton of health, there are no checkpoints throughout the fight. With the Dark Elf King laid low, we unlock our first runic summon, Wrath of the Wolf. Runic summons are performed by Atreus and will bring forth one or several animal spirits imbued with his bow's current element. They will continuously deal damage, stun, and build up the corresponding status effect on affected targets over a short duration. An important detail here is that runic summons are indeed augmented by Kratos' runic and cooldown stats. On the journey back to Tyr's temple, father and son have another heart-to-heart moment. Atreus expresses that it feels like his dad doesn't seem to care about anything, not even the loss of Faye. An assumption that greatly enrages Kratos. He reprimands the boy for his attitude and says,
Do not mistake my silence for lack of grief. Mourn how you wish. Leave me to my own.
I think Kratos touches on something rather important about grief. I'm sure there are a fair few individuals that have gotten accused of seeming distant or even unfeeling as a result of the subtlety of their emotions. Everyone has their own way of dealing with emotional distress. For some, the process is physically evident, but for others, it isn't. I still sympathize with Atreus, as he's still just a child, one that has just lost his mother no less, and he does apologize for his outburst. Well, we've gotten the light of Alfheim, disposed of a Dark Elf monarch, and even had a sensitive father-son moment. So we're all set to return to Midgard. Father and son have been through a lot already, and the journey is far from over.